SpaceFam. Big hearts. Thank you so much. So much. Thank you so much for being here again tonight. I appreciate every single one of you beautiful, beautiful people. If you're already a part of the SpaceFam and this is not your first video here with us, then thank you very much. I love and appreciate you all. Thanks for coming back for another video. I can't love to see you here again. Please let me know in the comments what you think of this one. If you are new to the channel, please check out the video. If you like true crime, if you like spooky things, strange happenings, conspiracies, all that type of stuff, you're gonna love it here. We're pretty chill. We don't take any negativity. We're pretty supportive. We have a good family building here. So if you like what you see, if you like the video, leave me a like, leave me a comment, and I don't know, maybe just consider doing a little click on the little subscribe button down there. It's totally free. I mean, what could you lose? You'll just become a part of a new awesome family who talks about spooky things and true crime every week. And I mean, that's really kind of win-win, isn't it? We're all like-minded people here. You might as well join in. But if you do enjoy the content, just go ahead and join the SpaceFam. I love every single one of you, and I appreciate every new subscriber I see. So now we will get into the case that we're going to be discussing today. So in today's video, we are going to actually be talking about the first actual act of air terrorism in Canada. So today we are going to be talking about the Canadian Pacific Airlines Flight 108 tragedy, or the Sault Cochon tragedy. This was a horrible tragedy which was orchestrated by three people. They orchestrated the explosion of a Douglas DC-3 plane, which had actually been decommissioned from World War II and restored as a passenger air flight vehicle. So these three people orchestrated the explosion of this plane. They had managed to get a dynamite time bomb inserted into the cabin under false pretenses, which was set to explode at a given time. Now, this did occur, and sadly, all 23 passengers on board on September 9th of 1949 did perish in this accident. There were 4 crew members and 19 passengers who all lost their lives that day, and this is going to be the case that we will be discussing today. Now, I know this case is from a little bit further back in history, but I tend to find that historical cases are also quite interesting. Please let me know in the comments if you do find it interesting to hear about cases from the past, or if you do prefer to hear about more recent cases from current years. But personally, I think it's quite interesting to hear about the past. Let me know though, and let's get into it. So, to start, we will take it back to the very beginning. A very good place to start. So, to understand a case, we have to understand the people behind it. So, we will talk about the people who were found to be responsible not long after this tragedy had occurred. So, Joseph Albert Quay was born the youngest of 5 children. He was born on September 23rd of 1918 in Charny, Quebec. When he was just 5 years old, his father was killed in a railway accident, which would cause his whole family to have to uproot their lives in Charny and move to a suburb of Quebec City. Now, Quay had been drafted into World War II, but he ended up obtaining a draft deferment, and he worked at Saint Malo Arsenal. In August of 1941, Quay began selling jewelry full-time when he opened his own jewelry and watch repair business post-World War II. At this time, the family had moved to where the new shop would be, and they were all living in Sept, Quebec, and they had their daughter, actually. So they would have a baby and a flourishing jewelry business just after the Second World War. Now, we also have another accomplice in this other than Albert Quay and Jean Roust, and this is a lady by the name of Margaret Petre. So, Petre was born in Saint Octave de Métis, Quebec. She ran a boarding house and was actually known locally as Madame Le Corbeau or Madame Raven because she always wore black clothing. Now, the thing about Albert Quay and his wife Rita is that publicly, when they were out and about, Quay would make physical advances and show emotion and make shows of embracing and loving his wife Rita. But however, behind closed doors, apparently things were quite different, as often they can be. So, things would actually get worse after the birth of their child for Rita, unfortunately, so she would not have a happy relationship with Albert, especially after the birth of her child. He was apparently a very jealous and possessive man, and he also had some problems with some debt that he had, and he would also be struggling with the pressure of running the business, and it wouldn't be a good dynamic for their relationship. So there were a lot of stressors and a lot of unhappiness and dissatisfaction in this marriage, pretty much from the get-go behind closed doors. So, in 1948, Albert Quay would meet a 17-year-old girl named Marie-Ange Robitaille, and he would meet her at a nightclub that he frequented as she was a waitress there. So Albert began to catch feelings for and eventually totally fall in love with Marie-Ange, and he would actually use a false name, Roger Angers, to purchase an engagement ring for Marie-Ange, which he would use to propose to her, and she would say yes, that she would marry him. Of course, it didn't take long for Albert's wife Rita to find this out, and she went and directly confronted Albert and Marie-Ange at Marie-Ange's family home. Now, Marie-Ange's parents had no idea that Albert was already married, and this being the 40s, that was just absolutely scandalous. I mean, it still is, but I mean, compared to like how known and talked about things are now, it was, scandal. So they absolutely would not have it, and they actually would kick Marie-Ange out of their home. Now, not to worry too much for Marie-Ange, as Albert would set her up in the Marguerite Roust boarding house for the time being, so she didn't have to worry about housing. But, of course, this was all out in the air now, would eventually lead to a breakup between Marie-Ange and Albert when she finally wanted to go back home to her parents, and Rita would actually end up taking their daughter and moving back in with her mother as well, leaving Albert on his own for a period of time due to his own actions. as if I said Marguerite Roost purchased the dynamite, I meant Petra. They have the same first name, a lot of French names. My eyes didn't. So Marguerite Petra was actually the one to purchase the dynamite. She's the one who had the debt to Quay. So she would actually be the same one to deliver the bomb to the airplane in as following Quay's orders. Petra was a little bit more humane, however. She had proposed an alternative plan for this murder that would just involve the killing of Rita Morrill and no other civilians. She had suggested that she get a cabbie friend of hers to take Albert and Rita on a romantic drive through the countryside, where the time bomb would be inserted into the trunk of the car. Now, at a certain time, the driver of the car and Albert would get out to look for assistance as they faked engine failure or car issues, leaving Rita alone in the car to succumb to the explosion that would happen at that time when the other men were out of the vehicle. They would meet with this cabbie friend to discuss the plan and ask if he would participate, but he would be entirely unwilling to participate in this and ruin his cab and reputation and risk being arrested and executed. So he wanted nothing of this, and Petra would basically tell him that, oh, she was joking, like play it off like a joke, and try to convince them that it wasn't actively something that they were trying to do. So since all of the other options were out the window, it was right back to square one, with Quay's plan to put the bomb in a plane that he would convince his wife to take a trip on. So you may be wondering, just as I was wondering when I was researching this, how did he force her to get on a plane? So Albert had told Rita that it was of the utmost importance that she get on this flight that would take her to Cochon. Now she was going to retrieve some important jewels and jewelry making supplies that Albert had ordered and that needed to be picked up immediately so that they didn't get lost or stolen. He needed them for the jewelry business, so he needed her to go and get those things for him and bring them back for his jewelry and watch repair business. So she argued with him about it. She really didn't want to do it, even up until they were in the airport on that day. Rita was arguing with Albert about how she didn't want to go, she didn't want to get on the plane, but he was adamant that the ticket was already purchased and he needed those supplies and she was going to be getting on the plane whether she liked it or not. So she didn't really have a whole lot of choice in that matter. She had no idea, of course, about the life insurance policy that had been taken out in her name, or she probably would have thought even extra hard about whether or not she wanted to do this, but she was wholly unaware of that. But Albert would manage to convince her to get on the plane in his stead. So if all had gone according to Albert Quay's plan, Flight 108, which took off from Montreal, Quebec to Cochon, Quebec, with a city stopover in Quebec City, if all went according to plan, he had set the time bomb so that the plane would explode and plummet into the St. Lawrence River. However, he did not account for a 5-minute time delay which would occur before the plane could take flight, and now this would result in the plane exploding essentially over land. So his plan for no evidence to be found just went right out the window because of a 5-minute, essentially, well, it wasn't a miscalculation, but a delay, an unseen factor, would cause the plan to go totally haywire, and the plane would explode in the wrong place. So it would actually explode at Cap Domende, near Sault, Cochon, in region of Quebec. I apologize that I just probably butchered all of those friggin' words. I wanted to talk about this case. I was so scared to pronounce the French. I probably murdered it. Fitting, though, I guess. So sadly, all 23 souls on board were killed in this explosion. Petra had delivered what she had claimed to be a statue to ship via the plane to another destination, but the box, of course, did not contain a statue. It contained the dynamite time bomb, which was put into the cabin of the plane, which caused this mass devastation to occur. So, 19 passengers, 4 of which were children, and 4 crew members all perished that day. Basically because some man wanted to kill off his wife and be with a 17-year-old. It's just so messed up to me. This was the first documented Canadian act of air terrorism. This type of thing hadn't gone on at all. It was way off of our radar before this time. So this really opened our eyes to the possibility of air terrorism, essentially, in our own country, even by our own citizens. So, as I said before, Marguerite was more of a caring soul. She kind of just got in with this crowd, just got roped into this. It wasn't really who she was. So she, just a couple of days after this all took place, went into a total downward spiral. She became depressed and self-loathing, and she actually attempted to take her own life. It is said that she was actually encouraged by Albert to take her own life, as he told her that since she was the one to deliver the bomb to the plane, and that it was essentially all of her fault, and she would be found entirely guilty and executed, so she might as well just do it on her own terms. So she did attempt that, but it was not successful, and she was brought into hospital, and she did confess at that time to taking a box on behalf of Albert to the plane to mail it, but she stated that she only knew that it was a statue. She did not know that it was an explosive, but she did take accountability for being the one to put it on the plane to get that off of her conscience. However, she would be to blame for part of this, and she would be tried and executed with the other 2 men. Now, Albert Quay, the whole ringleader mastermind over here, it only took 2 weeks for him to be arrested after the crash. He was tried in February 1950. Upon his conviction, he was sentenced to death by hanging and was executed on January 12th of 1951 at the age of 32 years old. Rost and Petra maintained their innocence for quite some time. Rost claimed that he did in fact help Quay build the explosive, but that to his knowledge the explosive was to only be used for excavating stumps in the outdoors around Quay's home. And Petra would maintain that she had shipped an item for him, but it was only a statue, and she had no idea that it contained any explosives or anything harmful. So that was their stories, and they were entirely sticking to it. They wanted no part in whatever was going on with Albert and his punishment. They did not want to be executed. Obviously, they were sticking to their story like double-sided tape. Albert Quay was not having that. Of course, though, he was not going down alone. Even though it was his plan, he would make sure that after his conviction, details that I want to make sure that I get entirely correct for you in this case. So, Roost was arrested on June 6th of 1950. He was then subsequently tried in November of that year. The jury did have the option of convicting him either one of two ways. They had the option to convict him of manslaughter, which would have got him a lesser charge, but they voluntarily chose to convict him of first-degree murder, which resulted in him having a sentencing of death by hanging. So, he would actually be executed on July 25th of 1952 at the age of 54. At this age, he had been suffering with an advanced form of tuberculosis, and he actually had to be wheeled to the gallows by a handler. So it seems like he was pretty much knocking on that door at that time anyway. Marguerite, on the other hand, was arrested on June 14th of 1950. She was tried separately from the other two men beginning in March 6th of 1951. After receiving her guilty verdict, she was hanged on January 9th of 1953. She was the 13th and final woman to be executed in Canada. All three executions took place at Bordeaux Prison in Montreal, Quebec. So guys, that is the end of that case. The first act of air terrorism in Canada. Who would have known? Again, please do let me know in the comment section what you thought of this case, what you thought of this video, what's going on with you today. Just give me a comment, let me know what's going on, say hi down below, I'd love to see it. I hope that you have found this case intriguing. I hope that you have maybe learned a little bit about how much easier it was to get away with these atrocities back before all of the technology for investigation that we are so fortunate to have now. I thought it might be interesting for you to see also how comparative some things are about modern cases and this case, the insurance fraud, the infidelity, and they're thinking that the only option is to kill your significant other. Similar themes, similar psychologies to lots of cases that we see in the modern day. So I hope that even though this case was a little bit older, that you guys still found it interesting and intriguing, and that maybe you learned something a little bit new today, or learned about something that you otherwise hadn't heard of. I know I've been doing a lot of Canadian cases lately, but it's just because I want to learn a bit about some of the things that have happened in my own country. There are lots of other cases from lots of other countries that I plan on covering as time goes on. If there are any cases in particular that you would like a deeper dive on, please do feel free to leave them in the comments or contact me about them otherwise. However, guys, that is it for tonight's video. I once again want to thank you all for being here with me if you've made it to this point. Oh my god, my heart explodes. You're such a champion. I love you so much for it. I hope that you've made it this far, and if you have, just know that I appreciate you being here with me for this entire video and hearing about this whole case. As you always know, I say that I'm not perfect. I'm still learning. I'm still quite new to the ASMR and true crime aspect. They're passions of mine. I love to do it. I love to share it. And I hope that it's enjoyable and relaxing and informative for all of you. However, guys, I think that's going to be about it for tonight. all again here next time, next Monday. As I said, I will be trying to get in more videos per week as some of the other projects I have at my work are slowing down. So please do look forward to some more videos on perhaps a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Friday rotation. But I will be trying to get more constant videos in here for you guys because I freaking love making them and I freaking love all of you. So, rest well, relax, 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 relax. Have a fabulous evening, and I hope to see all you beautiful SpaceFam members here again